Hi everyone! Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a fantastic necklace design, but with a very unusual construction method. I'm going to be showing you how to combine capture chain and a strand of beads with a ball chain connector to make a seamless design. Now this technique is going to be important for you to learn because you can actually use scraps of silver silk. Perhaps you have some scraps of capture chain or pearlesque chain that you don't know what to do with. So this is going to be great for that. And then if you have beads with small holes, you can actually combine all of these things together very effortlessly into a design that you'll love and wear time and time again. Now, if you're looking for a list of materials for this design, you can actually check out the description for this video. Before we get started with our project, I want you guys to go into the YouTube channel and destroy that subscribe button. And if you're looking for even more inspiration, you can follow my Instagram for SilverSilk and more. So let's go ahead and get started with tonight's project. All right, so I've got a few tools that I want to cover with you guys before we hop into the materials part of it. I just have a pair of cutters. These are Lindstrom cutters that I use for any sort of hardwire or cutting the capture chain. And you know, they're even great for cutting bead stringing wire actually. So they've just stayed sharp time and time again, and I love using them. I also have my handy pair of chain nose pliers from Weber's. These are excellent chain nose pliers. And then my most unusual tool is I have this sort of step long round nose pliers. And I say step because they graduate in size and they're marked, which is super handy. Um, Also, I guess otherwise known as bell making pliers as well. But I'm going to be using these to make some unique cones for this design. And I'll show you and talk about that a little bit more as we progress with our project here. So hold on that. So let me get to the materials part of this. You're going to need, speaking of cones, the 20 gauge, and I'm using antique copper craft wire from Softflex. And you could really pick out any color that you want. I actually like using the copper family because it's so soft and easy and very malleable. But you know, Softflex craft wire does well with all of their wires, and they're super flexible. So I recommend getting the 20 gauge spool. You'll also need some bead stringing wire. This is the Softflex medium bead stringing wire, and it's perfect for stringing beads on. You can absolutely pick any color that you want to. I'm going to be using this citrine color, and even I think in my pre-strung strand here, I just used their silver metallic color. So color is totally up to you guys, but definitely recommend the medium bead stringing wire. Alongside that, I've got 2mm crimps that I'm using, also from Softflex Wire. I'm very choosy with my crimps, and I want to make sure that they are very strong and don't have a seam, and they are just really good quality crimps that will be used in today's design. So have these on hand, and all of my materials sort of match in that copper family, at least for today. As I mentioned, I've got a strand of beads. I went ahead and sort of pre-strung my beads onto the beading wire so that you guys wouldn't have to watch me do all that. And I think this was probably the hardest part of the project because I couldn't figure out, you know, the perfect combination of beads. And this could be broken up and rearranged into, you know, 1,000 different ways and still look beautiful. But I went ahead and just pre-strung it anyways, as is, as it was pictured. And so what I did at the ends as well is that I actually went ahead and made a crimp here. And what I did was I strung a crimp and then I just flattened it with my chain nose pliers. So you won't need to use any special extra tools. No crimp pliers are necessary for this. You definitely want a flattened crimp when you do this. So go ahead and do that to both ends of your strand of beads. And by the way, this is probably about 8 inches, maybe 9, but you can definitely customize to the size of your necklace that you prefer. You can absolutely go shorter, or if you wanted to make a very long, you know, long lariat type of necklace, you can absolutely do that with this particular technique. It would just require putting more beads on. Okay. So I have, as I mentioned in the description earlier, that you can use scraps of capture chain. So I went ahead and grabbed my scrap of capture chain. This is the antique color, which is a antique, an antique copper color, an antique copper wire that's been knitted over antique copper ball chain. And so it's just pretty solid antique copper. And this happens to be about 7 inches or so of capture chain that I'm using. And then you'll just want to grab a pair of double strand end caps and your clasp of choice. Here I went ahead and connected everything together and just added a little tassel at the end, just for a little extra pizzazz. But I have this all ready to go. And what I can do to my one side, actually, I'm going to wait on that. Let's just go ahead and put this out to the side. And then let me go ahead and cover the rest of the materials here. Ball chain connectors. This comes in a set of 8 and set in a pair of 4 colors, excuse me. And these match with the ball chain that's inside of my knitted wire. So you can grab this in my store, silversilkonline.com, if you choose to. And this is what we're going to be using to crimp our necklace design all together. Okay, so as I said, the hardest part was probably picking out my beads and stringing them onto this wire and then just crimping it. Pretty easy stuff. The other part that might be a little bit of a construction is going to be making some cones. So I'm going to teach you how to make these really cute little cones that will actually hide the ball chain connector inside of your design. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to need your 20 gauge wire, which looks like this. And I'm going to be working off from the spool here. And I want to get maybe about 1 to 1.5 foot at least to work with. I don't think you'll need all 2 feet, but we'll see. I'm going to grab my pliers, my mandrel pliers here, and then I'm going to just squeeze at the top. And I'm just going to start to work my way around and coil it against those round nose. There are tools that help with cone making out there in the market, and I think those are all fabulous. The reason why I love these pliers, and I think where some of those tools may have missed the mark, is that they're actually numbered for the diameter that you're going to make. So I am going to try and hit the 6 millimeter diameter. So this becomes the inside diameter of my cone. And so I know exactly how much room I need to, accommodate for. I know I need to make my cone a specific size for a certain type of necklace. Then it's all numbered for me. I don't have to guess how big that hole needs to be. So I just really love this plier for that reason. And I don't have to invest necessarily into a fancy new tool if I've already got the tools on hand and I'm being smart about how I use them. So I'm just coiling this around, and I'm just using the other mandrel part of my round nose pliers to hold everything as I'm coiling it. So it's super easy to do. And as you can see, I'm approaching the 6 millimeter mark there. And I love using this particular craft wire. Again, it is very soft on my fingers. The 20 gauge is perfect because it's just thick enough to really be a substantial wire and thin enough to where it's very malleable. So as you can see, I went ahead and made my cone. I'm going to be probably squeezing in the top there just a little bit once we get it adjusted onto our knitted wire there. But you can go ahead and cut this off nice and blunt, and then I've got a cone that's just ready to go. I love how organic and just another texture this adds to your design especially. So I'm actually going to start with the ball chain connector portion of my design. And all you have to do, it's so easy, you guys. All you have to do is just slip one of the beads of the ball chain onto that ball chain connector. Now, as you could see, I kind of pulled my wire around to where one of the beads of the chain was exposed, enough for me to get that inside of the ball chain crimp there. And if you're super insecure about leaving this, kind of just hanging there, you can kind of twist it around that chain. It's going to be pretty well hidden inside of your pre-made cone there. And so I wouldn't worry about it too much. And then what I want to do is use my chain nose pliers to just secure that in place. You can just easily crimp it, close it, however you want to do it. And then remember whenever I said to make your crimp flat, that part is going to actually slip into the other end of your ball chain crimp, just like that. Because it's flat, it's got something to grasp onto. And so all you have to do at this end is just basically flatten it right over that crimp, and it's going to be permanently held in place. Very, very easy to do. Let me go ahead and do the other side while I'm at it. Okay, we'll start with our crimp side first. And if you need to open up your ball chain connector, just use your chain nose pliers to gently pry that prong open just a little bit more. And then again, just slip it inside. And I did leave a little bit of breathing room whenever I crimped it, just for this method, but also because I wanted to make sure that my necklace had enough flexibility. There we go. To arc the way that I want it to when it's worn. Okay, that looks really good. And again, I went ahead and exposed that extra bead there at the end. So all I have to do is just snap it in place. Again, if I feel insecure about the wire that's sticking out there, just wrap it around and pinch and it will stay. Okay, that looks really good. Okay, so now what I can do is take my cone and simply slide it over from the other end right over my design there and my crimp and everything. Okay, that little wire wants to get in the way there, but we're not going to let it. There we go. So you can see that it just fits right over and it hides everything. Now here's the part where and I think this is the important part about building your own cone too. That little wire can actually be squeezed around the capture chain, and basically this sort of pinches it in place. And so it won't move later. So you can kind of get it positioned where it feels right, and then just gently, whoops, press it into place. Couldn't get quite a grip on it, but now I have it. Good. Okay. And it looks like I was just a little bit off, so I'm going to try and press it down. I think that'll be okay. And then same thing on the other side. You just basically string it right through. Okay, when it's down there nice and secure and it's covering up everything, just go in with your pliers and just start to kind of coil this in a little bit. And then you'll see that it starts to hold in place, and then boom, you're pretty much done there. And then you can actually go in and now crimp your single strand end caps in place. I went ahead and preconditioned my wire. If you're wondering what that means, you can actually go to silversilkonline.com and then check out the SilverSilk School of Design. And there's a blog post in there for 10 tips on what to do to better silver silk, including preconditioning your wire. Which really just means that I cleaned it up and made sure it was ready to crimp. Now, this would be ideal with my flat nose pliers that have tool magic on it, but I don't have those on hand at the moment. But you can absolutely gently use your chain nose pliers for this method as well. You just want to be extra careful so that you don't cause any markings on your end cap there. Okay, looks like I'm almost finished with this design. Perfect. So that looks really good. And I think this ended up being a fabulous and easy design. And again, all brought to you by ball chain connectors in this project. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed this project as much as I did teaching it. I think this one's a great project to try for beginners that are especially wanting to combine their favorite beads with capture chain. Again, if you're looking for more inspiration, please follow me on Instagram. And if you're interested in more videos and tutorials, you can check out some of the playlists that are available on my YouTube channel. Keep it creative, keep it fun, and keep it light and happy. And I will see you again at the next tutorial. And I hope you have a fabulous day. Mwah.